Hello, hello! A trailer and release date for Deltarune's chapters 1 through 4 just got revealed in the Switch 2 Direct. The release date is in June, so I have time to do this video. This tier list of theories has been done before, most notably by Jaru, so I wanted to do it myself. I will be ranking them by how likely I think they are to be true. The top tier is basically canon for theories I think are obviously true, followed by very sure for theories I think are true but can't be confirmed yet. Then possible for theories I think could reasonably happen, but I wouldn't bet money on it. Unconvinced but unopposed for theories I don't think will happen but wouldn't be upset if they did. Disagree but could be made to work are theories I think are actively wrong, but I think Toby Fox could make them work. Vehemently disagree / joke theories for theories I think are actively wrong and would hurt the game if they were true or are obvious jokes. With the tiers explained, we can start. Second intro voice is Kara. I'm not a fan of anything from the Undertale universe being part of Deltarune's story beyond Gaster, who I think came to Undertale from somewhere else first. It conflicts with Toby Fox's statements that the story of Deltarune is separate from Undertale, so I'm putting it in disagree but could be made to work. Four Shadows Foreshadowed by HBC. This is the theory that the shadows in the last shape puzzle in Queen's Mansion each foreshadow something or someone, since one is a bluebird like Birdly is. I think it's reasonable enough to be put in possible. The angel equals the player. I think this is likely because I believe the angel's heaven is our own world, so it goes in very sure. Asgore had a hand in Dess's disappearance. The wording on this one makes this difficult. I don't think Asgore is directly responsible for what happened to Des, but I do think he was involved and failed to save her, and was then blamed for this failure. I'm interpreting this as generally as possible and putting it in very sure. Azrael is dead / possessing Chris. I can't see this one happening. I think it'd be more interesting if Azrael was alive, and Azrael possessing Chris seems redundant with the red human soul they already struggle with. I can see Toby Fox making it work though. Azrael / Ralsei sing Don't Forget. I think Don't Forget is like Love Like You from Steven Universe, where there isn't one sole person's perspective it's being sung from. I think if it is one person, Azrael and Ralsei are the most likely candidates. Birdly is fallen down in the weird route. I mean, does anyone not think this is canon? Chapter 3's secret boss is Flowey. I think this idea is really cool, but not the most likely option for the Chapter 3 secret boss. Chess theory. I'm not sold on this one, but I think there's a reasonable chance this ends up being true. Choice between Noelle and Ralsei. This is just vague enough that I think I can only put it in possible. Dark World in Church. Not only do I think this is cool, I think it'd be a missed opportunity if Toby didn't do it. And the Switch 2 trailer seemed to indicate that Chapter 4 is in fact the church, so very likely, very sure. Dark Worlds are Dungeons and Dragons. Pretty sure this was made when we only had one chapter, as Chapter 2 confirms the Dark Worlds are actually happening, so last tier by default. Dark Worlds parallel Undertale areas. This theory says the Dark Worlds parallel the underground areas in reverse orders. I think any similarities with the first two Dark Worlds is unintentional, but I'm not opposed to this theory. Darkners are objects brought to life, obviously. Deltarune Azrael made Undertale on his PC. I just think it's a neat reference. This being true would actively hurt Undertale as a game in my opinion, so bottom tier. Deltarune is an Undertale prequel. This conflicts with Toby wanting Deltarune and Undertale to be separate but parallel, so vehemently disagree. Deltarune is AU to Undertale. I believe this wholeheartedly as my theory is based on this assumption, but there's not quite enough evidence for me to put it in basically canon, so it goes in very sure. Deltarune is Gaster's Undertale fanfiction by Misty Sparkles. This seems like a joke theory for me, so it goes in the bottom. Deltarune Papyrus is an asocial incel. Papyrus being asocial could be done well, but being an incel would be actively bad in my opinion, so bottom tier. Deltarune is an Undertale genocide sequel by Bandit Games. I'm putting in vehemently disagree for the same reasons as Deltarune is an Undertale prequel theory. Gas leak theory. This is a Dark Worlds aren't actually happening type of theory, which just seems like a stretch and would make the game worse in my opinion, so vehemently disagree. Gaster drove Jevel mad. Basically canon. Gaster drove Spamton mad. Basically canon. Gaster is central to the plot. Basically canon. Gaster made Deltarune. Vehemently disagree. Gaster being a god or Deltarune being a simulation would be bad in my opinion. Gaster split the universe into Undertale and Deltarune by Misty Sparkles. Vehemently disagree for the same reasons as the last one. Gaster themed battle remix by Andrew Cunningham. The theory that World Revolving is a circus boss battle version of Gaster's theme. I agree with this one enough that I'm putting it in very sure. Gaster vs. Kara by Swanky Box. I think Undertale Kara having any influence on Deltarune is wrong, so vehemently disagree. Grand Fountain made Ralsei special. Given that all darkness can exist in his dark world, I think this makes sense, and I have nothing better, so it goes in very sure. Ice E Theory by HBC. This is the theory that Icy is actually a real cryptid in the game, and that most of Chris's more unhinged pranks are attempts to protect people from it. I find this both amusing and absurd, but it's the type of absurd I can see Toby Fox going for, so I'm actually putting it in possible. Intros to chapters are flashbacks. I can see Chapter 2 intro being a flashback, but I don't think it's a consistent thing. Unconvinced, but unopposed. We've gotten to the night theories, so these will probably go a bit faster. The knight is Alvin. Pretty likely candidate, so not my pick, so it goes impossible. Knight equals the annoying dog. Pretty sure this is a joke theory. Knight equals Des. This is my candidate for the knight, so it goes in very sure. The knight is Chris. I think Chris is a red herring, but still likely enough to be put in possible. The knight equals the mayor. This seems like a reach, so I put it in unconvinced but unopposed. Knight equals Papyrus. I saw a comic that sold me that this would be done well, so I'm putting it in possible. Knight equals Ralsei. I think this is actively wrong because darkness can't make dark fountains, but maybe Ralsei is special, so disagree but could be made to work. Knight equals Rules. Rules isn't Ralsei, so it goes in vehemently disagree. Knight equals the Vessel. I feel like this would be a cop-out reveal, so disagree but could be made to work. Chris is a vessel. I can get why people might think Chris is a creation of Gaster, but I think the story would be better with Chris as a regular human. But I'm still gonna put it in possible. Chris is Deltarune Kara. I don't think this is likely since I think Chris is a different human than Kara or Friss, so I'm putting it in unconvinced but unopposed. Chris is Deltarune Friss. I think this is more likely than Kara, but still not likely. I'll put it in possible. Chris made the fountain for sympathetic reasons by Dorked. I believe this one because Chris really seems to like hanging out with Susie in the Dark World, so very sure. Chris summoned the player. Interesting idea, but I think it's clear that the intro voice connected us to Chris. I'll put it in possible since Caddy does state Chris has done black magic stuff with her. Memory heads refer to Deltarune. I don't see this one. Vehemently disagree. Naked Ralsei theory. Pretty sure this is a joke theory. Narakara in Deltarune. I don't think this would make any sense in Deltarune, so vehemently disagree. Noelle attacked Darkners at the start of Chapter 2. I think it's likely enough to be put in possible. Noelle created Spamton. This got debunked in the Spamton sweepstakes, so it goes in the bottom by default. Noelle killed Des by Bandit Games. I think Noelle accidentally killing Des would be an unnecessary layer of tragedy on top of already losing her sister. Not to mention, I don't think Des is dead. Disagree, but I can see being made to work. Oberon Smog. I think this is a cool idea, and Jaru Jaru's video convinced me enough to put it in possible. Papyrus equals the Eggman. This seems like a stretch, so I'm putting it in unconvinced. Player will leave Chris and/or become Vessel. This seems somewhat likely possible to me, but not what I think will happen, so I'll put it in possible. Ralsei cares about the player, not Chris, by Dorked. I really don't see Ralsei knowing about the player or not caring about Chris, so disagree but could be made to work. Ralsei has a crush on the player. Same as the last one, disagree but could be made to work. Ralsei has a shadow crystal. I absolutely think this is true. He's a unique Darkner that knows more than he should. Very sure. Ralsei is a girl. I could think of a few narrative reasons this might happen, but it'd ruin the one girl, one boy, one envy balance the main trio has. Unconvinced, but unopposed. Ralsei is Azrael's dust. Interesting, but again, I don't think Azrael is dead. Disagree, but could be made to work. Ralsei is evil. I can see him being tricked by Gaster, but not being straight up evil. Disagree, but could be made to work. Ralsei is Chris's ideal self. Disagree, but could be made to work. Ralsei is Chris's true soul. This actively doesn't make sense to me, so I'm gonna put it in vehemently disagree. Ralsei is the Red Horn's headband. This is the theory I buy into, so very sure. Ralsei is working for Gaster. I'm going to interpret this as Ralsei being fully in the know about Gaster's plan and say disagree but could be made to work. Ralsei theory by Daisy Nose. This is the theory that Ralsei is the embodiment of Hometown, and that's why he can navigate the different dark worlds and knows more than any other Darkner. I find this one charming enough to be put in possible. Roaring has occurred before. Disagree, but could be made to work because the result is world destruction. Rules equals Gaster. This seems to be a joke theory, so it goes to the bottom. Rules is important. I think he will be. His shenanigans have to be leading to something, so I'm putting it in very sure. Sans is a Darkner. He exists in the light world, so no. Vehemently disagree. Deltarune Sans is Ness. Pretty sure this is also a joke theory. Sham is a secret boss. I think this is a reasonable prediction, even if I don't think it'll happen, so I'm putting it in possible. Secret bosses are the 7 deadly sins. The deadly sins are so broad that if this was true, you wouldn't know if it was actually on purpose or not. Also, there's no guarantee there will be 7 secret bosses in only 5 chapters. Disagree, but could be made to work. Shadow crystals show time loop. I personally doubt this, but I don't think I'd be bothered if this were true. Unconvinced, but unopposed. Spamton equals the wrong number caller. I feel like if this were true, it would have been directly referenced in Chapter 2, so disagree. Susie is from a human community. Interesting idea, but there's not enough evidence to put it above possible. Susie has a bad home life. Pretty sure this is a given based on context clues, so basically canon. Susie is half human. I don't really see it, but I'm not opposed. Susie resists the player by Mystic Slime and Tiger Shark 859. I think Susie is just the only one to not go along with Chris's ideas without question, so disagree but could be made to work. T-Theory. At this point, this is basically canon to me. Time Loop Theory. I can see it happening enough to put it impossible. Toriel is homophobic. This is the only theory here that I think is just straight up terrible. It's easily disproven by the story of Azriel kissing a girl during a sleepover, and then Toriel reacting by making everyone go to church every day for a week. She's not homophobic, she's just a prude, so vehemently disagree. Toriel kills Undyne by Swanky Box. I can see this happening following the Noelle and Birdley pattern, so very sure. Universal Mother Theory. This is a theory about Queen's behavior around the children. I don't think this will ever be confirmed or not, but it's probably possible. Undertale Sans is from Deltarune. My theory disagrees with this, but the picture in Sans' lab makes me obligated to at least put it impossible. And last but not least, Woody Theory. Woody from Toy Story has been referenced enough that I get this one, and I think it's likely enough that I'm gonna put it impossible. And that's the tier list. Thanks for watching to the end. Feel free to comment your own agreements and disagreements down below, and don't forget to subscribe as I leave you with this riddle. I am a physical item whose image appears in just about every computer program and game, yet whose name is being lost to time. What am I? As always, the answer will be posted 3 days after the video. Goodbye.